Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Overtime. Before we begin, we reported yesterday on a meeting between, an extraordinary meeting between Mike Linedell, the CEO of MyPillow, he's also known as the MyPillow guy, and President Trump. That meeting we have learned a bit more about, and we outlined what appeared to be a series of steps for Trump to perhaps enact martial law and perhaps try to stay in office longer than his term. It appears the very first of those steps has now been attempted, which, in my view, probably lends credence to the fact that he is, in fact, planning on executing this plan. We have learned more, and we're going to discuss it in a minute. However, before we do, one of the reasons In Time works is because, aside from, and I don't want to gloss over this, the super chats, the contributions from our patrons and the supporters on the YouTube channel, all of whom are absolutely amazing. Another reason it works is because we are very integrated into social media. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the term citizen journalist, and I try to be very careful about the sources that we take or cite, but even Washington Post, New York Times, their reporters will often reveal things on social media before it gets published in their papers, counting on people to get excited and want to buy the paper. At any rate, we have a tremendous number of people on our Discord who get us this information, and we are oftentimes able to break important stories before the major news media. Yesterday's we broke before any other news organization, except Rolling Stone magazine seemed to beat us to it. But now Washington Post, New York Times, and a number of others are carrying the same story that we aired yesterday. But I will admit that it's very difficult for me not to have this huge swell of pride at the fact that In Time was able to accomplish this. But the reality is it's really through the hard work of a number of volunteers and donors and people who help out. So I would like to take a moment and point out that once again, as we have done on numerous other stories, we hit a national story, it appears, before anyone else did. But because nobody else has, we have to be very careful with it. So anyways, I wanted to thank everyone, and they're on our Discord. I've thanked them before. I will thank them again, probably by name at some point. But for now, I'll just say, well, I'll thank... I will get into the details later. I wanted to make sure everybody got some recognition, because this would not be happening without a great deal of people's work. And once again, we managed to scoop major network news. So where are we? That man that you see down at the bottom, his name is Mike Linedell. He is the MyPillow guy. He had a meeting with Donald Trump. We reported on this yesterday. Actually, I think it was the day before now. And in that meeting, nobody knows what was discussed. It was off the books. And he left, and people have been trying to figure out what it was about since then. If you look very carefully at at what he's holding there, he has in his right hand a cup of coffee, in his left hand what appear to be the meeting notes, his cell phone, and actually two phones, and the meeting notes. This picture was taken by a reporter from the Washington Post. They were able to blow up the image and were able to get, and that looks terrible there. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to full screen this. This here is a copy of his notes. You can see they've got about 2/3 of the page and a transcript as understood on the right. Now, the title of this appears to be something immediately to save the Constitution. Steps taken immediately to save that. Now, according to Trump, saving the Constitution is keeping him in power. This isn't hyperbole. This isn't a guess. He has said this repeatedly. Pence refused to keep him in power, refused to violate the Constitution, and Trump called him a coward for this. The rest of the notes as follows. You can see them on the upper right there. What you can see is, let's see, now as acting national security. So we're trying to figure out what that meant. Him getting the evidence of as the election and all information regarding people he knows who have already have security. That would probably be security clearance, I would assume. Done massive research on these issues. Fort Meade is an attorney with cyber and up to speed on election issues. We now can hypothesize what this paragraph was about. We'll get into it in a second. Next line, ostensibly insurrection act now as a result of assault on the martial law, if necessary, upon the first hint of any, and then a few names, up for interference on the election. By the way, there was no foreign interference on the election, so this would be fabricating evidence if he is suggesting putting in, saying that there was foreign interference. Trigger powers make clear this is China, Iran, neither of whom have interfered with our election. I shouldn't say no foreign interference. There was Russian interference, not sufficient to change the, but yes, certainly not China or Russia. Use domestic actors, instruct Frank, evidence on the board, account, and then it gets a little confusing. So, what does this mean? Ostensibly looking at this, it appears like he is got a playbook of some kind for enacting martial law and keeping Trump in office past the inauguration date. I've spoken with a number of people on this. I have to believe any attempt to do so would fail for any number of reasons, but nonetheless, that appears to be what the discussion was held at the White House. I was going to say yesterday, but again, since it's past midnight, would have been the day before, Friday. So, it also suggests moving Cash to the moving Cash to the what is it? To I was going to move Cash to acting director of the CIA. Now, in order to do that, he'd have to replace the current director. Now, we learned a short while ago that he had, in fact, tried to do that. He tried to install Cash as the deputy director. This would be the person immediately under the director. Then if he fires the director, Cash gets moved to the acting director position. We then saw a screenshot from Giuliani's phone where he attempted, it appears, was getting a message from someone indicating that they were going to try to move Cash into that position. Why, we do not know, but these appear to be the precursor plans before Trump would enact martial law. The paragraph we couldn't figure out, and I think we took a couple stabs at it, and I think we got it wrong, but I do think we now know what it probably was, is the first paragraph. Now as acting national security. So that would probably be acting national security advisor was my guess. No, I believe at this point, attorney for the for the NSA. So the NSA is without a general attorney. Trump attempted to put in an attorney by the name of Michael Ellis, who was a White House official. He is a conspiracy theorist. He believes that Trump has won the election and should remain in office, and that the election has been stolen. At least that's what he claims to believe. And in November, and we covered this in November, Trump attempted to install him as the Attorney General for the National Security Agency. Now, the National Security Agency is far bigger than most people are aware of. It is more powerful than most people are aware of. The NSA actually has joked that their letters stand for no such agency, that they are so secret nobody is aware they exist. But the NSA facilities are rumored to be 5 times the size of the CIA, and unlike the CIA, the NSA can engage in domestic operations. The top lawyer at the NSA is an extraordinarily important position because they are the ones who, in the end, have to give legal briefs that justify any actions taken by the NSA. Most actions are routine. They don't have to go by the lawyer, but anything that they're not sure of, they go by the lawyer, and he either says yes or no and ostensibly puts his career on the line defending those positions. This would be installing in the NSA top position, not a military man, but as I understand it, a civilian lawyer, just a regular White House official. The NSA rebuffed this and attempted to keep him out and have used bureaucratic measures to keep him from assuming that role. It's been several months, and they are continuing to do it. What they have said is, now going on the record, the assistant, hold on, let me get the name here, I apologize. So what they have done is they have said that they have prolonged the background check, the lie detector test that's required before you can join the NSA, and all of these things have taken so long that right now he simply has not assumed the post because he hasn't passed all the qualifications. But if you assume that now the first paragraph is clearly speaking about an attorney. He is an attorney with cyber. Okay, that would actually be Michael Ellis. Massive research on these issues. Again, he is a conspiracy theorist who believes that Trump is innocent. That Trump actually won the election. The attempt by Trump to put him in as the acting attorney general or the attorney general of the NSA has been, as I said before, it's been met with such bureaucratic resistance that he still hasn't assumed the post. This first paragraph, at this point, I believe quite strongly, is saying that the first move Trump should make is to ensure that Ellis is, in fact, the attorney general for the National Security Agency. One of the NSA director has been given, well, I'll get to that in a second, actually. So an internal source from inside the NSA says that, actually, no, this was Hennessy at the NSA says an 11th hour move like this and this directive from the acting Secretary of Defense is overwhelmingly strong evidence of irregularity unless the acting Defense Secretary can provide compelling rationale for why this individual needs to be installed now. There should be a presumption that this is improper and Biden should be removed, should remove this individual on day one. But nonetheless, it looks like this individual will get in. This is considered an attempt to install a political, a political loyalist into a nonpartisan position. As I said, it had been met with considerable resistance until yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, the deputy, let me get this right, I apologize. I think it was Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller ordered the Director of National Security to install Mr. Ellis by 6 p.m. that evening. That would be last night. This is extraordinary. This would be in violation of any of the, he hasn't passed any of the requirements. He ostensibly may have security clearance. He hasn't had his polygraph. He has not completed the requirements for being installed. Admittedly, this was deliberate. They were keeping him out, but they had very good reasons to do so. This is a political appointee, isn't supposed to be at the NSA. He is not qualified. His only qualification is a Trump loyalist. The acting defense secretary ordered the director of the National Security Agency to install Ellis by 6 p.m. Saturday night. We do not at present know if he was installed. However, going back to this sheet, that would appear to be the first move on this form. Now, as acting national security, if that's the acting national security attorney general, that would make sense. So if the phrase we're missing is the attorney general of the NSA, with him getting the evidence on all, this would be ostensibly the evidence of fraud in the election, as the election and all information regarding people he knows who already have security, done massive research. Again, that would fit Ellis. He is an attorney with the cyber. I believe, as I recall, that is Ellis as well, and is up to speed on election issues. That's Ellis. So I believe at this point that the first move in this plan to declare martial law, which appears to be what it is, I can't find any other interpretation of this plan, and it says it. The first move appears to be to install Ellis in NSA, which it appears that the Pentagon ordered the director of the NSA to do by 6 p.m. Saturday. If he fails to do that, that would be a violation of a lawful order by the acting Secretary of Defense. If he's been installed, the next move here would appear to be to begin to claim that China and or Iran had engaged in election interference and to install Kesh at CIA, replacing the current CIA director. So if Trump is attempting to do something before he leaves office, his next move is going to be to install Kesh either as it would be as deputy director to the CIA and then fire the director of the CIA, or simply fire the director of the CIA and appoint a acting director interim. But it's very concerning that within about 24 hours of this meeting, which could easily have been brushed off, it could have been anything, that what appears to be the first step in this plan to restore the Constitution by invoking either the Insurrection Act or martial law appears to have now been taken, and taken quite aggressively at the behest of Acting Defense Secretary Christopher Miller. So at this point, we are keeping an eye out to see what happens with Patel. If he ends up anywhere near the CIA in the next 24 hours, I think that's would be a very bad sign for what the third step is going to be. Having said that, we have also learned that at least some of the notes, 7 pages of notes, have been passed by an unknown attorney to a news organization. I believe it's the Washington Post, and they have said that they have the notes. The Washington Post is reporting that this meeting was, in fact, apparently dismissed by Trump. I don't know what the sources are, but apparently sources in the White House have said that Trump did not take the meeting seriously, and that after a few minutes just shooed him away, and Linedell left after that. I hope that's true. I don't know what the evidence is that that's true, other than sources inside the White House, which I personally would not trust. What I know is what we have on that paper, and that the very first step it outlines now appears to have been taken. That is possibly a coincidence. He's been trying to get Ellis in there since November. But having said that this comes immediately after one of his supporters says that the next move is to install Ellis immediately. And less than 24 hours later, they get the directive from the acting defense secretary. Suggests to me strongly that he's given this serious consideration. So like I said, we're not going to know any more until we see what happens with Kesh. If there's any movement with Kesh towards the CIA, I mean, those are long-term goals that he's had, so it's possible he's simply jumping on them. But by all reports, he's been morose and ineffective and unable to do anything. The fact that he's suddenly jumping on the same goals that were on that paper and the meeting notes strikes me as suspicious, and it appears Giuliani is already working on whatever the rest of those notes were. So this was big enough that once we became aware of it, we decided we would probably it would be best to do an overtime. This actually came up several hours ago, but I was not available until just now. So right now, as I said, the Washington Post is suggesting that institutional resistance is keeping all of these things from going forward. The last we heard from the Joint Chiefs was that they would not take any military action without Pence's sign-off. And I don't believe Pence would sign off on this. Having said that, it is the acting defense secretary at the Department of Defense who has made this move. So I think I'm going to do a brief rundown on it again. It's actually, it's really quite stunning. I'm going to put this page up one more time. So again, if this is what it says, I mean, it's action taken immediately to save the something the Constitution. From a Trump loyalist, this would appear to be a plan of action to continue the Trump presidency after Biden's inauguration date. He had a meeting yesterday. The reports were the meeting lasted an hour. Reports now from inside the White House are no, it lasted only about 10 minutes, and then they kicked him out. But there's no way to know, I think. At any rate, this is a series of steps that are supposed to be taken in order to protect the Constitution. Now, but by Trump's figuring, we know what that means. That means that he stays in office and that the Biden election is nullified. In these steps, it includes what appears to be a reference to the Insurrection Act and invoking it, quote, now as a result of the assault on the, don't know, possibly the Capitol, but this may be, this would be late for doing it it's way late for doing it on the Capitol. The Capitol issue is already over. So it smacks to me of some new issue. We get some hint of the new issue when he talks about what seems to be play-up foreign interference in the election, trigger something powers. Now, that could be any kind of wartime powers, anything like that. Make clear that this is China and Iran, which have not interfered with the election. And hold on, I believe there's been a lag spike, and I probably know the cause. Give me 1 second, and I will attempt to clear up. I apologize for the lag spike. Yes, I know the cause. All right, in 1 minute, we should be able to clear up the lag considerably there. I apologize. 1 more minute. Broadcast came up very quickly, so we just all right, let me do all right, sorry, we are having minor technical issues. We'll get them resolved in a second here, I suspect. All right. There we go. That should, hopefully that's going to clear up the lag. I do apologize for that. All right. So, there we go. Yes, the picture was snapped by, so actually I'll sort of, I think I got distracted in the middle of a rundown, so that man there is, oh dear Lord, I've already forgotten his name. Mike Linedell. He is the CEO of My Pillow. He does his own commercials. He's often referred to as the My Pillow guy. That is him leaving a meeting which at the time we were told lasted about an hour with the president. It was the only meeting the president had that day, in the Oval Office at least, and it was unscheduled. Well, it was scheduled, but it wasn't on the public calendar, so nobody knew it was happening. Nobody knew what the meeting was about. He just showed up, had his meeting, left. But a member of the pool took this photograph, and what you can see in this photograph is that in his left hand, he is holding 2 cell phones and notes from the meeting, and in his right hand, he has a cup of coffee. They were able to zoom in on his left hand. That is his left hand. Actually, it might just behoove people, at least so that they can feel like they're getting it right. It's actually a 90-degree turn so that you can read it. But that is what is in his left hand at that exact moment that photo that you see right now was shot. That has been transcribed, and the transcription seems to suggest multiple replacements in key positions in the government in order to facilitate either use of the Insurrection Act or use of martial law, both of which he seems to suggest in that document. He is suggesting it as a means of protecting the Constitution or to save the Constitution, which to Trump and him both means keeping Trump in office despite a Biden win. If he were going to do this plan, the first thing he would probably do is the first paragraph. It's a plan, it's steps, it's going to be in order. The first step would be to install someone as acting national security and who knows what. But whoever this is would be a lawyer. They are a lawyer who's worked at cyber and has done extensive research on issues related to Trump and a lot of the Trump, a lot of the Trump conspiracy theories and the notion that he's actually won the election and all these other things. There is one man who fits all of that all that description, Michael Ellis, who Trump attempted to install in the National Security Agency as the Attorney General for the National Security Agency in November. Bureaucratic resistance has slowed down his ability to start the position, but he has been appointed. So it just takes him doing his polygraph, doing his background check, getting his security credentials, all these other things for the NSA, which actually usually does take several months. It takes a while for them to do this. They take it very seriously. But the reports are they've been slowing it down deliberately because they don't want him. In fact, the director of the NSA explicitly objected to the appointment of Mr. Ellis and said that Mr. Ellis is not qualified. He has no military background. He has no background in intelligence. He was caught in some kind of scandal where he seemed to be faking credentials in intelligence, but he doesn't have any. He is a civilian at the White House, so a White House official and lawyer who believes in conspiracy theories and will do essentially anything for Donald Trump. Nonetheless, Trump made the appointment, and the assumption was he wouldn't get in until probably well after Biden's term, and Biden could probably remove him. That's difficult. These are what are called political embeds. It is when a administration attempts to embed political appointees into powerful positions like this that are difficult to remove explicitly to prevent this kind of thing. Biden, in general, would not have the ability to remove the Attorney General of the NSA, and the reason is because they don't want him removed for political reasons. However, since this one has been installed for political reasons, the question is, would Biden be allowed to remove him? It appears as if most people at the NSA are strongly suggesting, yes, he could. But nonetheless, he can only do that on his first day. The NSA appears to be very much in favor of this. The first step in this plan, so if we'll bring up the plan here, the first step appears to be to install somebody as acting national security whatever. At this point, I think we can say that that's probably Michael Ellis, who meets all of the criteria outlined in that paragraph and is an attorney with experience from cyber and is very much up to speed on the election issues. So this would be acting national security agency attorney general is what they're talking about. So the first step here would be to try to get Ellis as the attorney general for the NSA, then ostensibly get Kash Patel to the acting director of the CIA, and then drum up fake charges of foreign interference in the election from China and Iran, trigger some form of powers. I don't know if they're war powers. I don't know what they're talking about here, but some form of powers, and then either use the Insurrection Act or declare martial law if there's any difficulty. The first step appears to have been done. So shortly after this memo was photographed, the acting Secretary of Defense, Christopher Miller, told the director of the National Security Agency that he had until 6 p.m. on Saturday to install the Attorney General Michael Ellis. Now, this would be in violation of their policies on credentials and background check, the whole 9 yards. He hasn't passed them yet, but the orders were install him anyway. We don't know what he's done. Already taken care of, Michael. Thank you. So we don't know at this point whether or not it was done. We know that the director was highly resistant to the move, but if he receives a direct order from the Department of Defense, I'm not aware of any ability he has to bypass that. If that's been done, the first step in these notes has now been taken. The next step would ostensibly be to move Kash Patel to director of the CIA, doing so either by replacing the director of CIA with Kash, or what Trump had attempted to do earlier, moving Kash into the deputy position and then firing the CIA director, automatically moving Kash up, promoting him from the deputy director to the acting director at the CIA. If he does the second step, the third step appears to be in conjunction with making claims that China and Iran were responsible for rigging the election, instituting some form of martial law and or using the not the War Powers Act, sorry, the Insurrection Act, which is actually a series of acts and probably cannot be used this way, but it looks like this is what he's attempting. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, and I apologize for being sort of all over the place, but let me, yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that, Doorknob Head. He could use the attacks on the capitals. If the attacks on all 50 states actually occur, which they are slated to do starting the 16th, was it the 16th? It's now the 17th, so yeah. So that's it. We don't know for certain whether or not Trump has taken any of this plan seriously. We do know it was floated to him. It looked like he was taking it seriously. He appears to have contacted Giuliani, who was talking to someone about Kesh Patel immediately or around the vicinity of this conversation at that time. We know that it appeared like he was there for not Ellis, Mr. Pillow Guy there was there for a full hour. The Washington Post is now saying that sources inside the White House say that he wasn't there very long. Trump only met with him for about 10 minutes and left. He may have met with him for only 10 minutes, but that's not the first page. That is not the first page of the notes. So he got significantly into his notes. So he did, we've seen footage of him now coming out. He looked somewhat exacerbated. Maybe he didn't get the response he was looking for. I don't know. But what I know is the very first plan on that, the very first step on that plan, they have now done within about 24 hours of him getting that plan. They have succeeded in getting it done, or they've ordered it done. So I shouldn't say they've succeeded because I haven't verified that he's in, but I don't know that the director of the NSA can refuse that order. So, yeah, we will see. Let me go through the live chat briefly, and then I think we're going to call it a night or a day or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we stream. We have backups of every show is recorded and streamed simultaneously, and that's also done so that if the stream goes down, we can keep the show going and then upload it later. And we had that happen. Actually, in our history, I think we've only had that happen twice. But the stream goes down, and sometimes we're just like, okay, because we can't reconnect to the actual show in many cases, and would have to create a new one. Rather than reconnect, we just continue. If it's an interview, if it's any kind of discussion with somebody, and if if it's okay, we don't have the live chat, we actually just continue it and then upload it in its entirety later. So all of these are recorded, and we do upload them and keep them stored somewhere else. I was going to say, I don't think that the NSA is going to be coming after us, but quite frankly, at this point, I'm not going to put a whole heck of a lot past anyone. I do think that, yeah, that's all. What could he possibly do in 7 days? They're serious. They appear to be, I should say. I don't know. Oh, dear Lord, that would make sense. So if this is a Trump loyalist who has access to the Ukraine phone calls on the NSA servers, no. Yeah. The NSA is one of the ones who have access. You know who would be the other ones who have access? CIA. CIA would have access because the phone calls were with the Ukraine. That's exactly the CIA. That's so now he's going to have two of the most powerful positions at those two, and he's trying to get them ASAP. Like I said, I mean, he could have been trying. I mean, he tried sooner, but there wasn't this push until just now. So it seems to me something's changed. But yeah. That's trust me, those aren't my words. I'm not saying what could he do with the time left. I'm just saying so many people said that. I said, get him out. But I will say this too, and this is worth noting. If he had been removed, we would have seen considerably more violence than we have thus far. But that's just one of those calculations you have to make with imperfect data. Is keeping him worth the risk? And not only is the answer to that almost certainly probably not, but the other problem is you're sending the signal that, hey, all you have to do is make it such that the country will fall apart if you leave, and now they can't impeach you or they can't, exercise the 25th on you. I don't think that's a very good precedent, so I think they had to remove him. I think there's absolutely going to be violence in removing him, but my suspicion is that the level of violence would probably be lower than what we're going to see if he pulls any of this stuff. What are the chances he's going to pull it? Ballparking it, I'd say it's greater than 50. I'd say it's greater than 50. I mean, this guy comes out, now the very first step on it's move. If Cash is next, Cash is next, I'd say we're over 80% that he is following that plan, which means some form of martial law or insurrection act would follow. So it just depends on what Trump does next. Again, Washington Post is covering it. We should probably link their story. They are a lot less sort of bellicose on it. They think that the meeting was probably reasonably short. All they're covering about they haven't actually mentioned. So they did an article. The Washington Post did an article on the move at the NSA, and they haven't put together that was on this sheet. They're the ones who took the photo, and nobody has said, "Hey, wait a minute." Now somebody must have said it. I'm sure they figured this out, but they haven't said it in that article, and they haven't said it publicly. Like, "Hey, wait a minute." Isn't that what was on the sheet that he said the first step we're going to take is install our attorney general at NSA, and then all of a sudden the attorney general at NSA gets installed? Yeah. So what I may do, I'm going to link to the Washington Post article. It gives a lot more insight into just this replacement here. But the fact is, this appears to me, unless I'm missing something, this appears to me to be part of a much larger picture and a very concerning one. Like I said, keep an eye out. If we hear any movement on Kesh in the next 24 hours, I think it's pretty lock solid that. Okay, so this is the Washington Post article. I'm going to put it in the live chat if I can. I may not actually be able to. No, it's not letting me. Why I'm not? Let me try just a refresh there. Maybe the link is too big. I don't know. Washington Post link is huge. I don't know why they don't just use like smart. Oh, yep, it's too big. Okay. Well, that's clever of the Washington Post. All right, what I'm going to do then is hopefully they have a share link. If they do, like they use a short link. If not, we'll leave it. It's a good article in the Post. The other thing I am going to do, though, is I'm going to drop a link to our Discord. So anyone who wants to come in, all the current, most up-to-date information that we have or that we're looking at is in Discord. And it's constantly getting dropped. We have a lot of good people in there who are just doing some amazing work in getting us the content that we have. So let me, yeah, there we go. All right. Yeah, here we go. I want to drop a link to the Discord in our live chat here. There you go. That should be it. And oh boy. So yeah, it's a little cray-cray. I think the next 24 hours are going to tell us a lot. If there's movement on Kesh, I think we have a very big problem in this country. If there isn't movement on Kesh, he may try to do something else first. Kesh wasn't actually the next step, but I think he'd try to move Kesh in first because he wants the CIA. So it really depends. but it's scary, and I think there's a possibility that he's going to try to frame China and Iran for the riots coming up, saying that it's they're using domestic instigators as their own proxies, and then try to use the Insurrection Act or some other such. We will see. It's going to be a very interesting couple of days, I think. I was going to say that I would love to see some soul searching on the side of the Republican Party, and I actually usually had more respect for conservatives than many liberals and many people of sort of my thinking. But this has been beyond the pale with Trump for some time, and they've been allowing him to foment this stuff, and it has become very much out of control and very dangerous. I keep thinking, I'm sorry, I keep thinking of that line from Dark Knight, you're the one who let the Joker out of the box, or the clown out of the box. They let the clown out of the box, and now they're pissed, and they're like, oh, what do we do about it? Well, yeah. Looks like quit the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. Famous Cube, that's what the Washington Post has said. And I think, the Washington Post is citing sources from inside that, or what I heard at the Washington Post was about 10 minutes, and then they showed him the door. So I don't know. I hope that's true. He did look, when you see the footage of him leaving, he looks a little exacerbated. He looks like that meeting may not have gone as planned, but he's read more than 5 minutes into his notes. And the sources that the Washington Post cites, I don't know who anyone else is citing, but Washington Post is citing sources inside the White House. I don't know that I trust those sources. As I said before, it's entirely possible. He had wanted to get this guy installed in the NSA for a while. So, okay. It's the end of his term. He may be trying to wrap up loose ends. He hasn't been up till now. He's been letting Mike Pence do all the work. So why, it's the end of his, okay, I guess I buy that he may just have thought of that on his own, but coming within 24 hours of that sheet which says that he needs to do this, and then with the pressure to install him not before the end of Trump's term, because there's still several days left, but by 6 p.m. that night. By 6 p.m. that night, that's somebody lit a fire under his ass. So this is speculation. I'm gonna be real clear. Let's be clear. There's a lot of speculation going on here. The reason is because we have limited amounts of information. And so if you're going to speculate, one of the things you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, these are the possibilities. And one of the possibilities is that the reporting from inside the White House is completely accurate. Now, what I heard was 10 minutes. He spent 10 minutes and he bailed. I'd like to think that that was it. I'm seeing evidence that suggests it wasn't, but that's all we're seeing. It's absolutely possible that it was just a 10-minute meeting. But we've now seen, regardless, Linedell had a plan. He had a plan. We have now seen the very first step of that plan enacted, period. Whether it's because it was part of that plan or it's a coincidence because it was something that was on his agenda for a while, hard to say. The first step has been enacted, and that's why we went live. We're just like, okay, look, we reported on this plan, or we reported on what he said, on what happened. We found out later, according to the Washington Post, it was a reasonably short meeting and he was shown the door. There's some evidence to suggest that's what happened, some evidence to suggest Trump is taking it more seriously. So we will see. I will say this. If that plan reads the way it looks like it does, and admittedly we only see 2/3 of one page, if it reads like it looks like it does, that's treason. What he is proposing is sedition, and it is treason. Period. Is it possible that the remaining 1/4 is completely exculpatory? Yeah, but I'm a writer and I don't know any words in the English language that could pull that off. I think at a minimum he's guilty of treason and sedition, and he was having a meeting with Trump. And I've never seen Trump have enough sense to usher out a supporter of his saying, oh, this country should be in your hands. usher him out after 5 or 10 minutes. It's possible. People have reported a significant mood change in him. He's been morose. He's defeated. That doesn't sound like a narcissist, and I think he's a narcissist. But if that's him, if that's what he's doing, yeah, I believe he ushered the guy out. We don't know. But what we're going to look for next is what happens with Kesh. If Kesh, right now, I think the chances are probably greater than 50% that Trump is following that plan. That's just my estimation. If we see movement on Kesh, and if Kesh gets installed in any high-level position at the CIA, I would move that to an 80% chance that he's following that plan. It's still possible it's a coincidence. Both were his agenda items, but he has lit a fire on to get them done quickly. And if they were that important to him, he should have been doing them a couple of days ago. Why did he wait until after this meeting? So, anyways, that's where we are. I'm going to make one more check on the live chat here, and then I'm going to call it a night or a morning or whatever it is that it's night somewhere. Jake 4D, I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you. Jake 4D, there's a way to make it not treasonous. Just say, open quote, this is what we suspect Group X is trying to do. Or just start it off with, you'd have to be completely treasonous to say the following things. And that was Al Franken did a book, Lies and the Lying Liars Who Tell Them. And he quoted, what's her name? Icicle lady. Ann Coulter. He quoted her as saying a bunch of things, and she later came back and said that he took her out of context. And he's like, look, the only way I could have taken her out of context would be as if you had the words, open quote, I'd have to be completely insane to say right before that sentence. So yeah, maybe that's yeah, listen. Human beings are messy. Nothing fits into a box. Nothing's going to fit our exact, but also, again, keep in mind, right as this meeting was happening, on or about as this meeting was happening, Giuliani started moving on Kesh. So somebody lit a fire under his ass. Now, you know, it's possible. It's possible Trump's in his bathrobe. He's utterly defeated. This guy has a meeting with him, and Trump says, oh my God, you're an idiot. Kicks the guy out and then says, oh yeah, but he's right though. I was going to put Kesh in, and I was going to install the attorney general. Oh, why don't I go do that? That's absolutely possible. That kind of stuff does happen. But in terms of the most likely scenario, based on what we're seeing, I find it hard to believe. It's possible. I absolutely would not eliminate it as a possibility. Yeah. But at any rate, and I don't mean to be like harping on famous Cube, because I think he's right. That's what the Washington Post has reported. So that's one reason I did want to link to the Washington Post article, was because what they're saying is, oh no, that article wasn't on the meeting. That article was on. So they had an article on the meeting, and they said basically, to the best of their understanding from White House insiders, it was a short meeting, but I don't know where they're getting that from. It was the same. There was also insiders who said on the day it happened that it was a long meeting. It was the only meeting he had taken the entire day. He came down from the residence to have the meeting. And this guy doesn't get in, by the way, without. Here's the other thing: you don't get through security unless you're on a very short list of people who can just get in, and it's basically staff, or unless you're on a schedule of some kind. Now, this guy was not on the public schedule, which means the only way he could have gotten in is if Trump or some high-level administrator said, yeah, you can let him in, he's on the schedule, he's supposed to be there. If he was on the schedule, he could come in, gate C or whatever that gate is that he's heading towards. They let him in, he goes, but he can't just walk in and say, I want to meet with Trump. There has to be a meeting of some kind on the books for him to get anywhere inside that building, especially him, because he's not a government official. So Trump lets him in, has 5 meetings with him, and bails. Again, possible. Well, Snuggle Puppy, you can send me the link or drop it here. I'll take a look at it. What that plan says is to protect the Constitution, steps taken to protect the Constitution. It talks about martial law. It talks about a whole bunch of stuff. We'll see. We'll see. The first step's been made. I'm going to head out for the evening. So, for the evening, yeah, whatever. We will see you all the next time there's something big to cover, or our next regularly scheduled show. Thank you all for joining us. I'm not gonna be in the Discord right now. I'm gonna try to get some sleep. But if you guys want to hang out in the Discord, and if you have Discord, send me the link to the show. Hal Slark's show saying that it was a pre-riot plan. It sounds like it's an instigation plan. Well, here's the other thing. Wait. In it, he says blame China and blame Iran. That's not a pre-riot plan. That's a how to cause a riot plan. Why would he say blame those countries and say that it's domestic agitators on behalf of them? So here's the thing again. Make clear this is China, Iran used domestic actors, which would be a lie. So this is his plan. Steps to be taken immediately to save the something Constitution. Replace the National Security Attorney General, which has now happened. And then as a result of the assault on... Okay, the assault. He's talking about a specific event. This isn't a pre-plan for anything. I'm sorry, it's not. It's just not. I'll buy any number of things that could be reasonably innocuous. This is not a pre-plan anything. This is a specific plan of action. It even says it's a plan of action. And no, this wasn't a contingency plan. So, all right, folks. So thank you all very much, and I will catch you guys next time.